It was an ordinary day aboard the USS Valor, a state-of-the-art battleship that had been patrolling the waters of the Pacific Ocean for several months. The ship's crew was well-disciplined, each member dedicated to their role in the military's naval operations. Among them was Admiral Grace Allen, a highly respected leader known for her sharp mind and authoritative presence. The crew had grown used to her no-nonsense demeanor, but they also admired her deep sense of humor that would sometimes shine through in unexpected moments. That day, the crew was performing routine maintenance on the ship, checking systems, and ensuring the massive engine was operating at peak efficiency. The Admiral was overseeing the operation, walking across the steel deck with an air of confidence, her boots clanking on the metal floors. Her eyes were sharp, scanning every detail. Amid the bustle, a young girl, no more than 10 years old, wandered toward the battleship's massive engine. Her innocent curiosity led her to touch the complex machinery, her small hands brushing against the cold, polished metal. The engine's power was immense, but the girl was unaware of the weight of the ship's mighty technology. Admiral Allen, witnessing the moment from a distance, couldn't help but laugh. It wasn't because the girl was being reckless. Rather, it was because of the contrast, the simple innocence of a child standing so close to a machine built for war. The Admiral chuckled under her breath, watching the scene unfold. She walked toward the girl, and her amused gaze quickly turned to something more remarkable when she recognized who the girl was. As Admiral Allen approached the girl, her initial amusement shifted to something far more profound. The young girl, whose eyes were wide with wonder at the colossal machine before her, wasn't just some random child. She was Captain Lily Harrison, one of the Navy's youngest and most decorated officers. Captain Harrison, despite her youthful appearance, had risen through the ranks faster than anyone expected. Born into a military family, her aptitude for leadership, strategic thinking, and her ability to command respect from even the toughest sailors made her a prodigy in the eyes of her superiors. Having joined the Navy at a young age, she had earned her rank and position through sheer determination, brilliance, and courage. No one had expected to see Captain Harrison that day. She wasn't assigned to the USS Valor. In fact, she had been visiting as part of an exchange program designed to familiarize young officers with the naval operations of various ships. But what most of the crew didn't know was that Lily had recently completed her training as a full-fledged captain, a feat that few could imagine at such a tender age. As Admiral Allen stood in front of the young officer, the realization hit her. The girl, who had casually touched the battleship engine, was not just a curious onlooker, but an officer of the highest caliber. A sense of admiration overtook the Admiral, whose respect for the captain was immediate. Back on the deck, the crew had been going about their duties. The ship's officers and enlisted personnel were seasoned veterans, many of whom had served on multiple missions and had seen their fair share of high-ranking officers. Yet, no one expected what came next. As Admiral Allen and Captain Harrison exchanged a few words, the rest of the crew began to take notice. They had seen the young girl earlier, but it wasn't until they saw the Admiral's demeanor change that they realized something important was happening. Whispers quickly spread through the ranks. "Who is that girl? Why is the Admiral laughing like that?" As the young girl, Captain Harrison, stood beside Admiral Allen, her true identity became known to the crew. Some of the older sailors laughed, nervously, thinking it was some kind of joke. Others stood frozen in disbelief. A child with such innocence commanding the same rank as their leader? It was a bizarre sight. The crew had spent years earning their positions, facing grueling tests of endurance and strength, only to find a young girl had achieved the same status far sooner than anyone expected. The astonishment was palpable, and the silence that followed was thick. Many wondered what this meant for the Navy's future and whether they could measure up to a leader who, despite her age, carried herself with such grace and confidence. The crew found themselves feeling simultaneously awed, confused, and challenged by the unexpected arrival of such a remarkable young officer. Admiral Allen stood on the ship's deck, observing the young captain as she engaged in conversation with the crew. As the Admiral reflected on her own journey through the ranks, she couldn't help but marvel at how Captain Harrison had risen to prominence at such an early age. It was not just her title that impressed her, it was the maturity and calmness with which she held herself. Lily's leadership was not forced or learned through rote memorization, it was innate. She commanded respect not because of her military position, but because of her ability to connect with others, understand their needs, and make decisions with precision. As the two women spoke, the Admiral learned that Lily had faced incredible challenges to achieve her position. Her youth had been both an advantage and a hindrance. On the one hand, it gave her a fresh perspective and innovative ideas that were rare among older officers. On the other hand, many had doubted her abilities simply because of her age. Yet, Lily had proven them wrong time and time again. She was a fierce strategist, a quick thinker, and unafraid to make difficult decisions. The respect that Admiral Allen had for the young captain grew exponentially with each word. She realized that Lily was far beyond her years in terms of wisdom, leadership, and tactical brilliance. It was clear that Captain Harrison embodied a new type of leadership, one that combined traditional military training with a unique approach to problem solving, empathy, and vision for the future. For the Admiral, meeting Lily was both an eye-opening experience and a humbling one. Lily's sudden appearance on the ship wasn't just a shock to the crew, it was a moment of transformation for the entire military institution. The Navy had long been a male-dominated world, where promotions were earned through decades of service, not youthful promise. To see such a young woman rise to the rank of captain defied all traditional expectations. As the young captain continued to engage with the crew, breaking down barriers and demonstrating the kind of leadership that many of her older peers lacked, the atmosphere on the ship shifted. It wasn't just a matter of respect for her rank, it was respect for her as a person. The crew began to see that age and gender were not the deciding factors in leadership, character, intelligence, and action were. Lily's presence on the ship opened the door for more diverse perspectives in the Navy. Her rise in rank was a symbol of what was possible for future generations of officers, women, young people, and those who might otherwise have been overlooked. Admiral Allen, who had spent years navigating a traditionally rigid system, recognized how important it was for the Navy to evolve. Lily was a sign of that change, a beacon of progress. In the coming days, Lily's actions and decisions would continue to inspire not only her fellow officers, but also the enlisted crew. She had proven that leadership could come from anywhere, even from someone as young and seemingly out of place as herself. The crew saw it as a moment to reflect on their own roles and consider how they could be better leaders, not just for the Navy, but for the future. Over the next few days aboard the USS Valor, the crew began to settle into a new rhythm. The initial shock of Captain Harrison's rank faded, replaced by admiration and respect. As she moved throughout the ship, the young captain took on her responsibilities with poise, commanding the attention of seasoned officers and enlisted personnel alike. One day, Admiral Allen called Lily to her office to discuss the state of the ship and the upcoming mission. As they sat across from each other, the Admiral asked, "What have you learned so far from being on this ship, Captain?" Lily smiled and answered thoughtfully, "I've learned that leadership isn't just about making the right decisions. It's about understanding your crew, knowing when to listen, and knowing when to act decisively." The Admiral nodded. "You've got it right. Leadership is about balance. The Navy isn't just about power. It's about the people who serve within it. You've already proven you have that balance." Admiral Allen could see that Lily was ready for the challenges ahead. Her ability to inspire those around her wasn't something that could be taught, it was something that came naturally. It was evident that in just a short time, Lily had already had a profound impact on the crew, teaching them not just about strategy, but about leadership itself.